Hey everybody, Matt here, and this is the audio that comes with this week's blog, and the blog's titled Wrong Right. There are things that are initially right, but ultimately wrong, and vice versa. Wrong and right itself as a distinction is like really deeply subjective. So wrong, right, right, wrong, and I thought we'd explore that a little bit today. So let's start with wrong, right. Like, as children, we set up survival strategies that keep us safe and alive, and these strategies themselves, such as don't trust other people. Like, they work really well in childhood abuse scenarios, but not so well when that child becomes an adult and is trying to raise a family. It was the wrong strategy, the strategy of don't trust others, but it was at the right time, at a time when you couldn't. So these wrong rights, they can often be dropped now as you evolve beyond the situations that created them. So here's some questions to help with that. What strategies have you developed to get through life? And how did they serve you? And can you celebrate the self, like say the little kid, that created them, and with love, thank that kid for getting you to this point and the strategy for getting you to this point? And now ask, does it still serve me? So does it still serve you? Because it was the wrong strategy possibly, but it was the wrong strategy that was right at the time. And what happens with this sort of thinking is it helps you grow strong, not wrong. And my friend Andrew Deering often says that instead of thinking wrong and right, perhaps you could ask, is it useful? I think that's a really powerful reframe. So now let's look at the other sort of directionality, which is right, wrong. Because there are things that are right on paper, but they're super wrong in reality. A deal or a commercial opportunity might make all the sense in the world, or even a relationship. And if you look at it in a logical and rational way, it appears that you would be mad not to sort of move on it and do the deal, except that there's a feeling deep in your gut that as right as this deal is, it's not right for you. And even if it is right for you, it just might not be right now. It looks right, but is so wrong. And I reckon you got to trust your gut with this sort of stuff. Listen to your heart, because the way forward's not always through your head. I get the irony of that here at Thought Leaders. So what is your gut telling you about this is a question you could ask about something that's like appears right, but is ultimately wrong. And even if it stacks up on paper, how do you feel about it? And like lean into that feeling. And in doing so, what honors you in this? And equally, maybe what honors others? Do you know what I mean? Like, not doing a deal might honor other people. And then I really like to ask, am I choosing to do it just because it looks right on paper, or because I think this will intentionally take me closer to joy? And that can then lead you to start questioning, is there an obligation or something else influencing you to take up the supposedly right thing that feels wrong in your gut? So sensing and feeling into the right wrongs, which is kind of what those questions, and certainly with the audio tone here, I've tried to get across, helps you kind of make sense of why there's a nagging voice or a niggling feeling just out of your thinking mind's field of perception, and you want to kind of listen to it. Sometimes the seemingly right things are totally wrong. Something that's not in the newsletter, but it's worth it as a sort of bonus for those listening, is in the field of pedagogy, there's a concept that you might call compassionate concessions. Another way of saying it is why you might lie to your students till they have enough knowledge to get the subtleties and distinctions of the advanced knowing. Now, that's not quite as catchy or nice. But if you think about it, an example in maths is we allow kids to think that addition is about getting bigger and subtraction is about getting smaller. And this is true until you start to introduce integers, which is like the minute maths stopped being about numbers, that I dropped it. But that idea is that addition is about getting bigger is a compassionate concession. There was a documentary maker, Marples, in California, who's famous for sort of saying, and I'll paraphrase it, the gradual loss of nuance is all we need for the rise of tyranny. And if you were to look at the non-dualistic traditions, like say the Advaitic traditions in India, you learn about like the tyranny of the two. And all of this sort of references the idea that there's a third choice in all things, like between right and wrong. Back to the blog. So as thought leaders, we're choosing to do work we love with people we like, the way we want. And this frame guides all we do as we build a life and a practice by design, intentionally choosing more of what we want and removing the things we don't want. And in doing this, we begin to shape, a real clear labour of love. And it's probably worth just saying here that most people in the world have jobs and very few have careers. Fewer, again, will find their vocation, which means you're in an extraordinary, non-ordinary dimension. You're not in a standard bell curve. And this, what we're doing here, the work of running a thought leaders practice, is a way to be more in love with what you do. And as such, you'll make choices that put you on the path to living a life that is, as Peck said, the path less traveled. Great book. In all your work today and into the rest of your week, then, it might be worth trying to do this at all times, these three things. Lead with love, teach with courage, and be free now.